Yeah, so my presentation today was focused on adolescents and their use of digital devices. So everything ranging from smartphones and social media to the time they spend just online communicating with each other, and how that relates or does not relate to their mental health and these recent trends we've seen in increasing rates of depression and suicide, for example, among young people. So it's really interesting. There's a very common narrative in the public, in the media, among parents, that smartphone, social media use is destroying a generation of kids. So the kinds of terms we hear about kids today are addicted, digital zombie, constantly connected to their phone and missing out on real life. But it turns out when you look at the evidence that many of those characterizations are really just myths about kids. They're not based in evidence. If you follow the data, what you see is a generation that's actually doing really well, right? And so they have the highest rates of high school graduation completion in history. We see declining rates across a number of countries in teen pregnancy, declining rates of things like substance use and violence, which are very costly outcomes. And then even in cases where we do see that kids are experiencing more problems like depression, suicide risk, etc., when you look at the data, what you see are very small associations with digital technology use and no evidence that these are actually causal. So it's just as likely that kids who are struggling with these issues are using technology in different ways. Yeah, so I think what we're experiencing right now, it's been referred to as the fourth technological revolution. So we're in a period of rapid adoption of new technologies. We're seeing adolescents spending upwards of 8 hours a day on screen, 6 hours for media use. That's average per day. And so it's a really big shift. And so the digital and social landscape of childhood is really changing and changing quite quickly. And we're struggling to keep up with that. So there are all kinds of issues related to children's rights, to their privacies, to our responsibilities to prepare them for the digital world that lies ahead, that I think we're going to need interdisciplinary teams of scientists, we're going to need educators, we're going to need parents, we're going to need kids to really figure out the best way forward. So one of the most challenging things working in this field is countering some of the very common and compelling, I think, myths that exist around kids today and the effects of digital technology on them. So what we see in the evidence when we go through and research this systematically doesn't align with the kinds of fears we have about digital technology's effects on kids. One of the worries that I and others have is that while we're focused on smartphones and social media as the cause of very serious problems like depression, anxiety, we're missing some of the real causes of those disorders, and we're also missing some of the real threats of the new digital world. So related to privacy, incredible amount of issues, this increasing gap in terms of what children from lower versus higher income families have access to in both offline and online settings. I think one of the most inspiring parts has been how digital technologies and working in this field has brought us together with researchers working on these issues from very different perspectives. So computer scientists working with expertise in human-computer interaction, for example, cultural anthropologists, people in education sciences. This issue is touching kind of every field of inquiry and every aspect of studying and understanding children's development. And so I think it's an exciting time. There are new tools that we can leverage to promote and prepare this next generation for the years ahead. And it's a time when we can really scale up some of what we already know about developmental science and about our kids in real ways, to reach kids that we haven't been able to reach before and to do things with tools that we haven't had access to before.